Welcome to You Know Something with Dina.
Hey, look, I'm just here to entertain, inform, and keep this crazy train on track.
And Tia.
Me, I'm like your live wire that is liable to go shalom.
They're like your cool aunts.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
Fun.
I can't believe you even brought that up. That is so fun.
Informative.
It's impossible to dust potpourris.
You can't.
Sometimes serious.
Dina, sweet child. I am almost stunned. I mean, I'm being really serious.
But most of the time, not so much.
A caca. I mean, you're caca and you're caca. No. I'm sorry.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Ladies,
Hello, welcome to You Know Something with Dina and Tia. I'm Dina.
And I'm Tia.
Hello, Tia.
Hi, little one.
We want to thank you guys so much for choosing our podcast today. If this is your first time listening, I want to tell you just a little bit of what we're about. Tia hates when I do this, but I'm always going to assume we have new people listening. And Tia and I are friends, and every Wednesday we discuss a different topic for around an hour. It depends on how opinionated we feel about the topic. And then we learn about it together. We are no experts on anything. I think Tia might consider herself an expert on doggies.
No,
Having
absolutely not. I learn something new every single day.
Yeah, so we're not know-it-alls, that's for sure.
Right.
And then we try to have fun while we're doing it too. And we give our opinions and our experience, and hopefully we just entertain you. And every Sunday we have a bonus episode we call Giggles and Gratitude, where we discuss our past week, and we try to include something that made us giggle and things we're grateful for. And then at the end we have a word of inspiration. It's kind of a devotion, I would say, from Tia that's called Tia Time. We have no set topics for the G&G episodes. They're fun because they're just kind of like freestyle. You never know what Tia's going to say.
No, we don't.
Now, I normally choose our topic for Wednesdays and do the research, and then I surprise Tia with the topics. And Tia just kind of goes with it and says what pops into her brain and her opinion and experience on things. Tia and I have lived a long time and done a lot of things, so we do have some experience. So if you're a younger listener, you may learn from us. Maybe learn what not to do. But today's topic was a pretty heavy one, and I didn't want to just say, surprise, Tia, we're going to talk about grief today. Let's go. So I did let you know last night on the phone that that's the topic I was thinking of, so you could kind of prepare yourself. And I don't want people to turn this off when they, oh God, I don't want to talk about grief. I like to laugh when I listen to you guys. But we get pretty goofy regardless of the topic. I don't know if we can get goofy today or not. But I think sometimes laughter's kind of my therapy, even for grief sometimes. Is it ever for you?
Absolutely.
Okay. It's just kind of a release, right?
Totally.
So if you've come here to laugh or learn or just be inspired by our conversation, I hope you won't turn us off because of this topic. And if you're a newer listener, our topics typically aren't this heavy, but we want to try to help people. If you're already feeling down or depressed, or maybe you're currently experiencing fresh grief, this conversation is not to bring you further down by any means, but what we want to do is share some thoughts and some tools from experts and to help you with your grief. And if nothing else, you'll know that you're not alone. There are other people. I think grief's a universal feeling. I mean, if you're living and breathing and you felt love for anyone, you're going to grieve.
Absolutely.
It's unavoidable. So let's see what we can dive into, and we'll see what happens.
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Okay, there are different types of grieving. It could be an end of a relationship, like a divorce. Or maybe you had your career all planned out and had it for years, loved your job, and you just walk in one day and they let you go. You'll be grieving your job. If you're a parent and your children are grown, you might be grieving that time when they were home. and you didn't realize that that was the best time in the world because you were just in such a hurry, and they annoyed you sometimes, and it was crazy, and you just thought, when they get out of the house. But now that they're gone, you think, wait a minute. So that's a form of grief. So grief can happen anytime. Just anytime there's a major change in your life, you are mourning that loss. But today we're going to focus on when you lose someone to death. That's what we're going to focus on. I think in the future we could probably talk about coping with divorce and starting your career over later in life and things like that. But today that's what we're going to focus on. So
I just wanted to say this.
Sure.
Because you mentioned grief, like in a divorce. I mean, my mom was divorced. I was divorced. And the thing of it is it's grief, but the sad thing about it is it's not final. They're still here.
yeah,
And so the grief continues. It just doesn't cease.
that's
If
true.
that makes any sense.
Yeah, they're there. You
Okay.
just can't see them.
All right, I'm sorry.
No,
I probably
I-
spoke out
No.
of turn, but
No,
I mean,
no.
and then about your children leaving, I couldn't imagine having my child, if I had one, leaving the nest. So I wasn't able to take care of them, be there for them.
Yeah,
So that just makes me really sad.
I know. To me, that would be so painful to think they were just little bitty babies. You changed their diapers. You nursed them through so much, and then they're just gone. And maybe they remember to call you. Maybe they don't. And you want them to live their lives and not need you, really. You want them to be so that you did such a good job that they're capable and you're happy for them. But that's got to be just like a pain in the heart.
Yes, it's like the mother bird kicking the baby bird out of its nest.
Yeah. Ooh. Even though there's different types of grief, we're focusing on death. I think these suggestions and ideas, you can apply that to any type of grief. So if you haven't lost someone recently, but you are feeling those other types of grief, maybe this will help too. All right, so let me get this out of the way. The sources we use today are healthline.com, tidesprogram.org. It's not the clothing detergent. It's like tides, like the tides of grief come in and out. It's just ever moving, ever changing. The waves get bigger, they get smaller regardless of as the years pass. It's not a steady thing really. And the ccchs.org. And Instagram.com, The Grief Project, Christian-works.org, and mygriefandloss.org. And these are all in the show notes. You don't have to remember that in case you want to go back and see where we got our information and reread it. So, T, I think we all know that they're generally the 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. And
I agree.
okay, and that, you know, I've heard that a lot, and I've always thought, who decided that, and where did that come from? And it was in 1969, a psychiatrist named Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a book called On Death and Dying, and she did a lot of study of terminally ill individuals, and they were grieving while they were alive, so she could study it, you know, what they were actually going through. So that's how she came up with the 5 stages. But there's been 2 more stages added since then to kind of more encompass the experience. And that's, they've added shock as the first one. So that would depend on how you lost that person, you know. If you see someone like a parent, let's say parent, we both lost a parent, but yours was a shock, mine was not, you know. I mean, I guess there's some shock regardless of whether you've watched a person decline over months' time.
Right.
You're still like, whoa, I knew it was going to happen, but
Stop.
yeah.
This is not supposed to happen.
Yeah, but
Yes.
yours was a super shock, totally unexpected, and you can talk about it as much as you want or not. I don't want to upset you, but I know you've got a good story to share for someone who has shock. So that shock will come before any of it if that's your case, and then the denial, the anger, bargaining, depression, and then testing comes before acceptance. And testing is like, I think I'm going to try to go out and have lunch with my girlfriends. You've been in the house. I'm going to dip my toe and see if I can have a conversation without just bursting out crying. Is it going to make me feel better? Is it going to make me feel worse? So you may go out and say, look, ladies, I need to go back home now. You know,
So now there's 7.
yeah. So shock and
Wow.
testing. Yeah. And I think that's good because
No, I think it's totally on point. I really do.
Do you want to talk about, I know if people have listened to us for almost a year now, they know the story of your mother, the loss of your mother, and maybe you do or do not want to share, but for newer listeners, yours was definitely fell into the shock category. I just wonder how that affected you initially,
Okay.
if you want to.
Okay, well, first of all, my husband and I were leaving on a cruise, and I stopped because my mom and I lived within walking distance of each other, and
Oh, I
I
didn't know
stopped
that.
to see her,
Okay.
and Greg sat in the car because we were kind of a little bit late going to the airport, and I said, I've got to stop and see my mom and my stepdad, and walked in, and she goes, oh, honey, you look so Italian. I said, yeah, whatever, Mom. And I hugged her, and she had just had hip surgery. And so I left, and she looked stunningly beautiful. And she was so stinking happy. And we left, and then it was a long flight. And then we boarded the ship, and everybody's phone was working but mine. I don't know why, but then I get a call in my stateroom on the ship, and it was an acquaintance of mine that said, Tia, can I speak to Greg? And I said, why are you asking to speak to Greg? How did you get this number? Why are you calling? I continued to do so, and finally she said, look, your mother's dead.
What?
Nobody wants to hear, look, your mother's dead. And I went, I cannot believe that you would say such a stinking lie. Except, I'm sorry, I didn't say stinking.
Yeah.
I was in shock. I had already lost 7 people, and to the month of the date, April 17th, I lost my mother-in-law, my husband's mother.
Wow.
And so it'd been my very best friend to start out with in Chicago, one of my very best friends, and then it just proceeded. And then my mom was the shocker. And so the next thing I remember, I woke up in the infirmary on a ship, and I had not a clue what had happened. And my husband took me back to our stateroom, and I remember sitting out. Do you mean to get really raw and real?
It's up to you.
Okay, raw and real. Here it is. We got back to our room, and I went out on the deck, and it was a beautiful ship, and our deck was right on the ocean. And it was pitch black, and I was thinking, I've lost my very best friend in the world, which was my mom. She was everything in my life to me. And I just was in disbelief. And so for a minute or more, I thought, you know something? Because it was 3 o'clock in the morning by that time. And so my husband had just, I said, please just go lay down. And so I was sitting out there by myself, and I just thought, you know something? Nobody will know. I can just go into this black ocean,
Oh, Tia.
and I just won't feel this pain. Because the pain of 8 people in 1 year was too much to handle. Way too much to handle. And so I just thought I could just jump and be done with it. And all of a sudden, the sliding glass door opened and it slammed. And if anybody that's been on a ship, they know that the suction of the wind on a ship, you cannot just open a sliding glass door and you can't just shut it. it takes a whole lot of strength to open it and shut it. It literally opened and slammed shut. And I went like that. I literally did that. I was like, wow.
So it like brought you out.
Yeah,
out of
it
that.
did. And I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt. I mean, that was God and my mom. Like, do not do this.
Yeah, snap out of it to you.
So I got up, I went and laid down, and then I remember waking up because it was real early, but I guess I woke up around 8:30, so I'd only been to sleep for, I don't know, a few hours, and I looked at my husband and I said, Pumpkin, this is a big nightmare, right? And he goes, no, Pumpkin, it's not. So,
I can see when you fall asleep, anything that's horrible, it slowly comes back to you as you start to wake up. And you think, oh my God, and you have to live it all over again. It's like...
Right. And...
there you were trapped in the middle of the ocean. You
yes,
must have felt like you were just...
And we were on a catamaran because my husband's company had rented out the entire ship for customers and his company, and there was no helicopter, so we had to wait till we got to the next port. Yeah. And so they'd made arrangements, and Greg did not let anybody into the room because I was a mess. Mm-hmm. And so wore sunglasses a lot. And so when we were getting ready to board our plane, and I can't even tell you where we boarded the plane at our first, I don't remember. That's so weird. This
would have been the first stop you had planned on going to anyway, yeah, I guess, right? How long did it take you from the time you found out to get to the port?
2 days.
2 days. Ugh.
So we were checking in, we're showing our passports, and the guy that was checking us in, he said, oh, so do you think you're a celebrity wearing sunglasses? And I lifted my sunglasses up, and my husband goes, she just lost her mother. And he goes, I'm so sorry, man. Well, but at that time, damage was done. And I just started squalling again. Got on the plane. I want to wrap this.
Say what all you want to say.
The point of it is I got on the plane. I wrote my mother's eulogy on the plane, and I knew I couldn't do it. My husband was kind enough to do it, but
was that kind of therapeutic for you to be able to do that? You think you just instinctively thought, or did you think, well, I better do this, or was it like, I want to get my thoughts right now on paper?
Good question. I just wanted to write everything I wanted to say about her, because I'd already said it to her. So I don't have anything left that I didn't say to her by the grace of God, because my mom knew I loved her with every fiber in my heart.
That's the thing about you don't leave anything left unsaid. I was going to say, I'm sure that last conversation was I love you. The last.
Yes, it was. And that was in 2008. And here we are in 2024. And I can still be brought to tears because I miss her as bad as I missed her the day I found out she was gone. Right. Because it was such a shock. I mean, it was a blood clot. Because there was nothing wrong with her. She had just had hip replacement surgery, and my stepfather was at one of his grandchildren's baseball games, and she called him and said, Wayne, I think, and so he hurried home. By the time he got there, she was already gone. The blood clot already passed.
So she
And-
knew she didn't feel right. Something was
Right.
wrong. Bless her heart. Yeah.
Exactly. And, then there's the guilt of, like, I was in walking distance. Had I been there, I could have saved. No one. I mean, it's.
I'm sure he felt the same way if I hadn't gone to this baseball game.
Right.
And guilt is something that is mentioned here that even if it's just the most ludicrous thing, people always feel guilty. If only, if only, if only. And it really gets you nowhere,
Right.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. Was there anything when you got back and you went through the horrible process that we have to go through when someone passes, anything that anybody said to you that made you feel better or did that made you feel better? Or was it all just kind of fall off of you, bounce off of you at the time?
When I got home, it was really, really, really late at night. And one of my very best friends was pet sitting for me at that time. And she had left a note. It was a very kind note. And then my sister showed up early that next morning for us to go to the funeral home because my sister asked me to do my mom's makeup. And I was like,
Tough.
whoa,
Wow.
And she goes, well, you're the only one who can make her look like Mom. So I think I was numb through every single thing. And then when I actually saw my mom and touched my...
You knew it was real then, right?
Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, it was just like this, I don't know, this blah came over me and I was like, okay, I'm going to make her beautiful. It's exactly what I did.
It was a
I
very
made her
like a
beautiful.
last act of love. I mean, what an act of love to do that. I don't think I could do that to you. I really
Well, I didn't think I could either, but I did it for another friend of mine. I did her sister. She was in my high school class, and so she said, you did say you would do anything.
don't. Oh, wow.
And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
So I do not want to get the reputation of I'm the makeup lady.
But, that was a good thing. I think that my sister was stunned that I just didn't break down. But I'm a person that I'll keep it together as long as it's required. And
Yeah.
then when I get off by myself, that's when I'm done.
Yeah.
And so we did that, went through, as you've done, went through the proceedings of the funeral. Okay, I'm probably going ahead. I should shut up. So
No,
what?
I appreciate you sharing. That was very generous of you to do that because I didn't want to take you there, but it's kind of hard to avoid that. Thank you for sharing that, sweetie. There's 3 types of grief. That's anticipatory grief, and that's kind of what I went through with my dad. You used to lose them slowly, slowly, slowly. He was sick for, I would say, about 6 to 9 months. And, I knew where it was headed, but you didn't know when or how.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't, I don't know if it helps you. I have said to people before who's someone they love died suddenly, it's kind of, I know you don't think it's a gift, but it's kind of a gift. Not, I don't know if it was to you. I've said that to someone else who lost their dad. I said, because you don't see you don't lose them a piece at a time, and it just nags at you, and you can see them, but you can't get to them. And so I don't know. I guess everybody feels like
That's exactly how my husband lost his mom, because she had colon cancer.
Oh,
So it was exactly like with your dad.
yeah,
It was an anticipatory.
yeah. Anticipatory
Okay.
grief. It's very good. Prolonged, complicated grief could be like, let's say, someone you love was murdered or found in the water, and you don't have answers, because you kind of need all the facts to process. You just cannot get those facts out, or maybe somebody wasn't charged with something that they did. I mean, you never finish. It's prolonged, or maybe eventually you get justice. But
So there's no closure.
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Good way to
you know
put it.
something? I watch entirely too many 48 Hours, Dateline, 2020.
You are an expert on that.
And that's something I just honestly I can't process it. I can't make it make sense, because there's somebody out there that took one of your loved ones. Either you don't know where they are, or they were murdered, or whatever. I'm sorry, that doesn't compute in my head. I cannot make that compute in my head. Not knowing, I think, would be the most agony, because at least I know where everybody that I've lost in my life, I know where they are.
Right.
I know exactly where they are, and I know I'm going to see them again.
Mm-hmm.
But to not know,
Yeah.
I think would be the most heart-wrenching, devastating vomit alive.
Yeah. It makes me think about, what was his name? Riley Gaines? You know, the boy who disappeared in Nashville recently?
Yes.
That's still, if I was his parents, I think this is not solved. This is not.
No, it's not.
Answer to
Because, I mean, there was no water in his lungs.
Right.
So he didn't drown. And so why was his pants and his socks and his boots taken off?
Right.
And he was found just in a shirt and boxer shorts. You see? Right. That would never fly with me if I was the parents of that child. There's no way that I would consider that as, oh, it's accidental. No,
Right.
it wasn't.
Right. How do you go on and process?
You just go out like multiple parents have, and they've gone on for 20 years and finally come to solve it. Mm-hmm. They finally found their answer. But it's 20 years in the making.
Yeah. And in the meantime, you can't live your life.
Well, no,
you feel
because
like
you're
can't
obsessed.
Go on. Yeah, exactly. It ruins marriages. Other children in your
Right.
family feel ignored. It's hard not to be obsessed with it. I just, like you say, you've watched so many of those scenarios, and it's just gnaws at your gut, and it's so heartbreaking. So, and then the third type is what they call, quote, normal or common grief. Like, you lose an elderly parent from a sickness, you know it's coming, and it's still grief, but it is, quote, normal.
Okay, you know something? The normal, I think, is not even a thing, because everybody expects to lose somebody when they're older, like your grandparents or whatever, but when it happened, I was devastated, because I was like, I don't even know how to go on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm never going to have cinnamon toast like my mom May made.
Yeah.
I'm never going to...
She said May, her, that's what you called your
Mom
mother's
May.
mother?
Yeah,
May.
Mom May.
Yeah.
And then Mama Kate, my dad's mom, I'm never going to shuck corn or, break beans or whittle with my Papa Gaines, my dad's father, or my Papa Wolfenberger, who never ever raised his voice at me except once when I painted his cinder block garage purple. Not real sure where I got the paint, but I did. And he said, Tia Maria. And that's about as loud as he got. Not kidding. Because he was the kindest man. He never said... He said, if you don't have anything good to say about somebody, you don't say anything at all. Yeah. And then he also... One thing I'll never forget is he said, even the highest flying birds have got to come down for water sometime. Think about that. See, he just said, I've got saying after saying after saying, but I mean, just yum. Yeah. And so, I'm sorry, but just even that, I don't think there's a normal grief. Yeah. Because we're the ones left behind. They've gone on before us, and we're here to. I can still smell my mame.
Yeah, you have all those. I was sitting here thinking, because all my grandparents had passed. I think it was like 6 months when my last, which was my dad's mother, passed. So I don't have any of that grief or that pain, but I don't have any of those memories either. So a lot of my friends, my peers, you experienced grief at a fairly young age. You know, it was when your grandparents passed, you may have been a teen, or it was depending. So you had experience with it early. I don't know if that's good or bad. I guess it depends on how your parents talk to you about it and explain it to you. But I miss those memories, but I don't have that pain that you had either. But at a young age, kids realize your family unit is not going to be intact forever and ever. You know, the circle's going to be broken. So
But that is a circle of life.
Exactly. Now, you have your firsts when you lose someone, your first year, you know, the holidays, the birthdays. I think everyone could agree that first year is pretty tough, those first holidays. So this is about how to navigate through the holidays when the grief is fresh. You should be gentle and kind to yourself. As you go through the holidays, remember, it's okay if you're feeling sad and you need to share tears. I think people worry like, well, I don't want to spoil everybody else's Christmas. You know, if I go out to this party or go to my family get-together, I'm liable to cry. So, but it says just take a moment, go be by yourself, even if you're in a group setting, or cry openly. You know, it depends on the people you're around. Was your family open to tears and expressing emotion, or did they say, get a grip, girl?
Some were, some weren't. I mean, I am grateful that I had the friends that I had, and I am grateful because of my sister and myself.
She's the only person who knew what you were going through, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we grieved differently.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, because I was a recluse for about a year, literally. I mean, it wasn't because of just my mom. It was because I'd lost 7 prior.
Right.
So 2008 was just a vomit year. Mm. And it just, I mean, I was even diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Mm. So it just rocked me. Yeah.
I can see how you would feel like, I'm not going to go out and express myself or meet anybody new or make any new friends. Or
literally not for a year.
Down. Yeah.
But my sister, I mean, she and my mom were tight as ticks, and they were great friends as well. And her very best friend, actually. I mean, because moms can be best friends with, I don't care how many children they have.
Yeah.
Your mom can be the best friend to 8 children, mm-hmm. if that's what she wants to do. Mm-hmm. And Sabrina and I dealt with it differently. I just chose to be a recluse, and I'm grateful for the friends that I had that continued to.
They waited on you and said,
I'm here. Yeah, just didn't let me die. Because I think I literally was trying to just
Sounds like
waste away.
Understandable. And that's kind of the theme here today. You and your sister are perfect examples. Neither one of you grieved the wrong way. You grieved how you needed to grieve. So if you're going to go out and be around people during the holidays and it's your first, or maybe it's not your first, it could be the 20th and all of a sudden it's hitting you, the loss you feel in a holiday, allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling. Allow yourself to feel happy. You know, let's say you're crying one minute when there's, say, a prayer at Thanksgiving, and then somebody does something funny, or the dog grabs turkey off the table, or whatever. It's okay to laugh. You know, everybody's not going to look at you, or they shouldn't. What's she laughing for? She just lost her husband, and she was crying. Now she's laughing. You're going to be a roller coaster of emotion. And if you're around the people who are going to judge you for that, you're around the wrong people, as far as I'm concerned. So don't worry about what anybody thinks about you, even if they say dumb things to you. And some people say dumb things to people who are grieving because they're uncomfortable and they don't know what to do.
They don't know what to say.
Yeah. Just accept yourself, accept whatever emotions you're having on that holiday. Set expectations. You've experienced a major loss that changed your life. Anticipation of holidays and special gatherings can be more difficult than the actual holiday itself, that anticipation of what's going to happen. Make plans ahead of time to ease your stress on that particular day. You could say, all right, Aunt Mary, thanks for inviting me to Christmas dinner. I'm going to come, and I might cry, I might not, but I feel like I'm going to stay for like an hour, and I don't want you to expect me to be there all day. This is what I feel like I can handle. I can't bring a dish. I just cannot get myself up to make a dish. And this is how I'm going to be. If you can accept all that, here's how I'm coming. And take care of yourself in what you need to do.
I agree with that 1,000%.
Yeah. And you may go and say, I think I'm going to stay all day. This is better than I thought. So that'll be a nice surprise for everybody. And you may want to say, too, I'd like to talk about Bob when I'm there. And I want everyone to tell me memories of Bob. That's going to help me. Or you may say, I don't want people looking at me in a pitiful way. I don't want to talk about it. I want to come, enjoy my food, love on y'all, and go home. So it's just whatever your rules are. So maybe prepare people for that. Expect the unexpected. Grief can be sneaky, and moments of mourning can happen when you least expect it. You may walk into a situation feeling neutral or even joyful. All of a sudden you hear a song, or see someone across the room, or a loved one comes up in conversation and says, I remember when Bob did so-and-so, and it may just hit you and bubble out of you. I mean, you're talking about your mom.
A well
You
of
didn't know.
emotions,
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. It's all okay. It's normal to just have a burst when you think, this is not who I am normally. What is happening? You really aren't who you are ever again. You know, you're a different version of yourself.
Oh, you're completely a different version.
Yeah.
of
Doesn't mean
yourself.
life can't be great, but you are
Right.
not that person anymore. So be open to support. Friends and family want to be there for you during a difficult time during the holidays. Be open and allow them to support you during the holidays. Find someone you trust to share your thoughts and feelings with. Be willing to accept support that would be helpful when it's offered. If a friend asks you how they can help, say, well, you could come clean my dishes for me because I just couldn't get up and do it. You know, if they really want to do it, if they really want to know, you know, and I've been guilty of saying, if I could do something for you, let me know. And I have heard people say, don't say that, just do it. If you see something that needs to be done, do it. And the person can say, no, I'd rather you not. But if you go see someone who's grieving and you see a pile of laundry in the laundry room, just start washing it. And they can always say, I'd rather you not touch my laundry.
That's exactly what I would say. Please don't.
Yeah. It's all, everyone but Tia.
You can talk to me while I wash these dishes.
Yeah.
You can talk to me while I fold this laundry.
Yeah.
But just let me do it, because that to me is like, that's how I get out stuff.
I see.
Like,
Yeah. And I think some people want to help you in the way they want to help you. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to do this, and then, oh, you're not grateful, or, you know, I'm going to bring this covered dish up. Well, I don't really like that. Or we've got tons, people have brought me tons of stuff. It'd be better if you maybe go pick up my laundry that I left at the laundry, you know, and then they don't want to do that. You know, it's like, it's not about you and what you want to tell your friends you did for your friend who was grieving. Just do what they, just like you said, just stand here and talk to me while I wash clothes. Mm-hmm. You know, so if you really mean I'll do anything.
sometimes that is the greatest. Just, you know, just be there. And sometimes you don't have to say a word. You can just sit there for hours upon hours upon hours, and just sitting and knowing somebody's there that just loves you, cares about you. That's the greatest thing in the United States of America and abroad.
I agree. It's a time for reflection and remembrance. Love does not end at death. The person you're missing this holiday season made a big impact on your life and will continue to be a large part of your life forever. Create a safe space for all types of reflection. Some of your family members may openly share about the person who died and find the comfort of others most helpful, while others may prefer to just grieve privately. Don't bring it up. That's what I was saying before, you know. But it's good to let people know what makes you comfortable. You could even like set a place at the table for your loved one. Mm-hmm. Create a memory box, share photos, sing, hang a stocking for that person. Maybe go visit their grave if that's a thing that you do after the dinner. You know, say, I'd love if you guys would come with me. And put a, you know, Christmas flower arrangement on the grave or whatever. Some people are not into that, and some people are. But ask for what you want. Don't avoid your grief. Be careful not to fall into society's misconception of you need to be strong. Don't be sad during the holidays. Get over it and move on. And people actually, I was reading comments, people actually say that to people. Can you imagine? I think it's time you moved on and got over this. Our modern culture wants us to jump on the grief and mourning highway, speed along as fast as possible, and move on. Better yet, don't mourn at all. And fortunately, that does not work. In order to live your lives to the fullest and find hope and healing, you need to embrace that grief and sadness. Allow yourself to mourn and grieve. And that's probably something I didn't do when my dad first passed, because like I say, it wasn't looking good. This is probably going to happen. It wasn't unexpected. And I thought, well, I've gone through all this. It's over now. Now we've got to do this. This is a checklist. This, the insurance, the bank accounts, da-da-da-da-da. And I thought, you should be over it by now and, move on and all that. And it'll hit you. It'll hit you when you least expect it, and it's not a healthy thing to do.
I think that grief is proportionate to the amount of love that you had for that person. Mm-hmm. Dina, I've heard you in almost a year now, in probably 3/4 of our episodes, like speak of your father and how much he meant to you and the little things. And it was even like on some of the most humorous episodes we've had about him putting a duck on the stairs, like duck so you won't hit your head, or putting a bird that you found in a tree. The things your dad did, nobody should ever tell you that you need to grieve X, because I don't think that you'll ever stop grieving the loss of your father, as I will never stop grieving the loss of my mother, my grandparents, my best friends, period. I just, it's a part of you. It's a part of you. And when it's gone, and that's a part of you that's gone.
Right.
And I think that you should just 1,000% relish in, at a point in time, because now I relish in the gifts my mom gave me, the funny things she did, because I can tell story after story after story of things she did that just made me laugh until I cried, as you can. Mm-hmm. But I've had a lot longer grief time than you've had. Yeah. And I don't think that you should be over it. I'm sorry, I don't. Do I think you should move on in life? Absolutely. Do I think you should be over it? No, I don't.
Yeah. I think people have a tendency when they say, oh, I'm sorry you lost your father, how old was he? And I say 92.
It doesn't matter.
Like, well, he had such a good long life,
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you were probably glad he was out of misery.
They could be 190. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
It's true. If it's a good relationship, and sometimes I wish I didn't have a good relationship. I think if I was estranged from my father, I'd be like, but I would have missed out on so much. But
no, because, I make over for my dad, but if I lose my dad before I go, it will devastate me. Yeah. I don't have the relationship I have with my mom, with my dad, because it's a different relationship.
Sure.
But it would absolutely devastate me.
Something else you can do, something positive, during the holiday is to help someone else. Oftentimes the act of giving or doing something for others has a powerful effect on us as grievers. Consider making a donation in memory of your loved one to an organization that means something to you, or maybe to the loved one. Volunteer somewhere meaningful to you and your family. You can do something for others by yourself or with your family or a group of close friends. They weren't grieving, but my ex-in-laws, my nieces, after we had Thanksgiving, they'd always go to a food kitchen and work, homeless food kitchen. So I think that's true. I think when you go out and see others in pain and you help them, when you really feel like you can't stop your own pain, it's a very satisfying feeling. Would you agree with that as a positive step?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, we all have our opinion from our own experience, but according to the tidesprogram.org, these are the do's and don'ts of grief for yourself. So you can see if you agree, Tia. You should embrace your feelings of grief in healthy ways so that in your own time you can move forward. I think you can get stuck in an unhealthy place, but you can move forward with hope and healing. So don't avoid the pain and refuse to allow yourself to grieve. Don't feel like you have to be strong.
I agree.
Don't live in the past. Now, obviously you want to remember things, but you don't want to say, well, I'm just going to have those memories. I'm good with those memories. I'm not going to make new memories. Wouldn't you say that's what they mean by...
Yes, and I don't think that's good either. You have to make new memories.
Yeah, okay. I feel like the person who passed, if they love you, would just, let's say they can see you or feel that your energy, they're going to be so upset if you're devastated and not, that their death ruined your life.
And that you never move on. Right.
Yeah, you're really hurting them, I think. I know that's easy to say, move on, but I can't imagine the pain of watching.
I just think moving on is different for different people.
Yeah.
Moving on for some is not the same as moving on for some others.
Yeah.
But again, grief is proportionate to the amount of love you have for somebody. Not meaning that if you get over them in a week, you didn't love them.
Exactly.
Not saying that. I'm just saying that some takes longer than others.
Yeah.
I could never, in a zillion million years, get what it's like to lose a child. But I've had friends that have lost a child. I can't make that make sense in my head. I cannot.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh, ultimate horribleness. I feel like your loved ones that you lost would not want you to stay in bed for the rest of your life.
Nope.
You think about when your mom passed, all the experiences you've had afterwards that you would have missed.
Right.
So it's hard. I know it's hard. Okay, here's a kind of a tricky one. Don't idealize the person or the previous situation. You know, when someone passes, they become an angel in our minds, you know?
And you forget everything ugly that they did.
Exactly. They're human beings. They were
Yes.
human beings. And I guess this would apply to divorce too. You think, oh, it was so great. Was it really so great? Because you're divorced now. You know, I know we're not going off on that, but things were not perfect. A person is not perfect.
Nobody is.
Yeah. So I think people have a tendency to do that. And it's not going to help you think realistically if you're like, they were such an angel and I miss them. You know. Of course, you and I feel like our parents were, I mean, my dad had flaws, obviously, but our relationship, I can't imagine a better one with my dad.
Right.
You know, so that's really tough. You know.
Exactly.
I know a lot of people can't imagine, you know, they struggle with their parents. They can't imagine that, you know. And I feel sorry for them. All right. Don't refuse to make the necessary changes to move forward. Let's say that your spouse passed in your house in a tragic, you know, maybe suddenly right in front of you. Maybe you need to sell that house. Maybe you want to stay and be in those memories, but maybe it would be better to get a fresh, maybe get a smaller place without a yard where you don't have to do it with mowing. You know what I mean? Like simplify your life. So what are your thoughts about that?
Ooh.
I mean, you live so near your mother.
I still have a spouse. So, like, with my mom's spouse, at that time, my stepdad, he wanted everything that even reminded him of her out that very day because he could not, like, be around it. So, a couple of my friends went over and cleared every single thing out of their condo and brought it to my house. And it sat in a closet for 7 years.
Now, how did you feel
Until
about that when he did that? Or do you not want to say?
That's how he dealt with it. Right. I don't judge him. I mean, because I don't know. He didn't sleep in that bedroom for years. I don't know if he does now.
Oh.
To be honest, I don't.
Yeah. I don't want to compare. I know you and I both love animals so much, but I don't want to compare the death of a pet to a human. I mean, it's horrible, but it's not, to me, it's personally for me, it's not as bad. It's not the same. But when my dog I had for 15 years, who went through surgery, and they called me and said he's not going to make it through surgery, I immediately, and then he called and said he's passed. Took all of his toys, threw him in his kennel, his dog dish, everything, locked the kennel door, and put it out by the road to be picked up. And I don't know, as I was doing it, I thought, what am I doing? You know, why am I doing this? And by the time my ex-husband got home, he said, where's all of his stuff? And I said, I don't know. That's what I needed to do. I needed to grab it all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to look at it. I can't look at it. I can't look at his favorite little squeaky toy. I can't smell his sweet little afterbath smell in his house. I can't. I got to get it. And that's what worked for me. So that's kind of, I guess, the same
Exactly.
thing. Where some people want to take all the toys and put them in a little shadow box and put them on the wall, or, you know, stuff their dogs, stuff their dogs, taxidermy their dog.
No, I have friends that have done that.
Yeah. So it's,
I would never want to do. I've buried, and I can't cremate.
Yeah. You don't like the thought of it. Yeah.
It's just, but I've buried every single one of my babies, and I have their collars. I have every single one of my babies' collars.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I kept one, his favorite first toy he ever bought, but not in sight. You know, I cut it in a little box because I just couldn't look at it. But yeah, so there I was thinking, I'm surprised your stepdad did that. But I thought, wait a minute, I kind of did the same thing. Don't dwell in self-pity. Allow yourself to feel pain while also making efforts to take healthy steps towards healing. I think it's hard, you know, depending on the circumstance. If you say, why did this happen to me? Well, it happens to everybody. Mm-hmm. Some situations are worse than others, but you are not unique.
No, you're not.
In losing people. So don't lose respect for your own body. Now, this is something I did. Remember to take care of your physical body by bathing regularly, have healthy eating habits, drink ample water, and get exercise. I ate so much vending machine food outside my dad's hospital room that I got in that awful habit. I just hit all the numbers. They all dropped down in that thing. I'd scoop them up, put them in the tail of my shirt, walk in the room, and I got in that horrible habit. That was my, oh, poor pitiful me. I'm going to eat some M&Ms. And it was hard to get out of. It's hard. I'm just now getting back into a healthy eating habit. I had a lot of guilt and thought I don't deserve to be healthy and happy. So I'm just going to wallow in misery and chocolate. And it wasn't even a pleasure thing, really. Like, it was like, why should I cook myself a meal? Why should I go that much trouble? It's hard to explain. It was just a whole mix of
I get
weirdness.
it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I quit eating.
Oh, okay.
And so I went down to like 99 pounds. My hip bones got places before I did. That's not now, of course. It's sad that, I mean, I don't know. The only great diet I know that works is somebody.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I
Obviously,
know,
kidding.
We have to kid.
But
yeah, I do know someone who feels guilty about eating good food because the person they lost enjoyed. That was their thing.
Oh,
making
it wasn't
meals.
that at all.
No.
I just didn't have an appetite. I was just so heartbroken. It wasn't. I felt guilty about eating anything.
You kind of didn't really want to thrive,
I didn't want to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say that, but yeah, that's what it was.
That's what.
Well, I'm
it was.
glad you did. I sure am glad you did. Try not to remain withdrawn and run away from your feelings. Just tell everybody that walks in the room how you're feeling if you need to get it out. Don't rely on alcohol and other drugs. I mean, that's very easy to fall into that. To numb that pain, oh my goodness. Don't maintain unrealistic expectations of what friends should offer. Maybe you're sitting there thinking, why isn't everybody coming to me? I mean, people's lives are still going on. They have responsibilities that they had before you lost your person. So, I mean, I think they should call you or send you a note or let you know they're there, but you can't expect them to drop their entire lives to be there for you, and it doesn't mean they don't love you. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Try not to resent those whose families are still intact. Like if you lost a child, God forbid, you watch other people on Facebook, or they get their Christmas card, and they're all smiling and happy. Try not to feel that resentment towards them, because it's not rational. I can understand it, but it's not rational. I mean, did you feel jealous of other people whose moms were still there?
I didn't feel jealous. It's just, I was just sad because I didn't have mine. Not jealous at all.
What about like
I never
on Mother's
felt,
Day? You know, on Facebook, everybody puts their Mother's Day.
No, I
stuff
just
up.
got ticked off about all the Mother's Day commercials, and I was like, I'd flip through it.
Right.
Flip through it.
Right.
I don't want to hear about Mother's Day.
Anger is a stage. Anger is a stage that you have to go through. You always feel bad about that. Like when my father was still alive, putting up a Father's Day card because, you know, most of my friends' fathers have passed. And I would say, and to those who, you know, I always try to remember a little blurb. Those whose fathers are in heaven, you know, I'm thinking of you too. So, because you're going to be there one day in that same situation. Don't expect yourself to just get over it. Even if people you care about and respect tell you to get over it. Like you said, you don't get over it. You live with it, I think.
You never get over it.
Yeah. Don't feel guilt at the end of the day when you think, well, I actually had a good day and didn't think about that person today or think about my sadness today. Don't say, oh, I better start wallowing again. You know, because those days are going to come where it's not the first thing you think of when you wake up, you know?
You know something? I don't think that my mom is on days, she's the very first thing I think of, but I don't think there's a day ever since 2008 that I can remember not thinking about her.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you have pictures out, you know, I think that's a good thinking of, but you shouldn't feel guilty. This is saying,
Right.
If at the end of the day you go to bed and you think, oh, Mom, sorry I didn't say hi to you today, or ask your opinion of something, or feel you for a second. This says, don't cross bridges before you get to them instead of taking things one day at a time. I think you do take things one day at a time. I had a good day today. I'm not going to think about next week, what I should be doing or all that. Don't condemn yourself, no matter the death situation. I mean, people always think like you were talking about, if I'd just done this, if I'd just been here, if I just hadn't done this. I mean, more likely than not, it's not your fault somebody passed away. I mean, unless you poisoned them or something, then you should probably feel really guilty and go turn yourself in.
Probably.
And don't underestimate yourself. Don't say, I'm never going to be okay. I can never do this again. I don't think I can ever go back to work. I'm never going to be happy again. Everybody's very powerful inside. I mean, you and I are going to say prayer. You know, this doesn't say this here. It's being neutral, but I don't know how people get through things like that without prayer or belief that they're going to see their loved one again.
I don't either.
I just can't imagine it. Don't get involved in another serious relationship until you're really ready. I think people automatically think, well, let's use a dog as an example. When your dog passes, when are you going to get another dog? Why don't you just get another dog? That's not your dog, you know.
You just don't think of them as the same dog, but I think that is a good thing to get
a new
another
puppy, do
dog,
you?
only because it keeps your mind like occupied, and it gives you something to care for. I think, not a human, but a dog, get another dog.
Is that code?
But
Get another dog.
I mean, not another human. I mean, like, I don't think if your spouse passes, you should run out and marry somebody.
Yeah.
And you can't get another mom, and you can't
Nope.
get another dad.
You sure
so
can't.
those are out.
Yep.
So, but I do think for sure you should get another animal, because I think they bring you more joy than they do pain.
Yeah.
For sure.
I agree. And I think if we are talking about humans, your timeline is your timeline. I think you have to heal yourself before you go on to a new relationship. That's just my opinion.
Oh.
If you're still in that deep pain and dysfunction, don't, because you're trying to find somebody that'll heal that, you know? And
Nobody can heal it.
Yeah.
You have to be healed yourself. And I think that only comes by the grace of God, that you just are healed where you can't, no one can give you something that you don't already own yourself. You have to have it.
And I think many people do
give
that.
it.
If your relationship ended, it wasn't in a death and it just ended, people are like, okay, I need this person because I can't be alone. I need this person. And it's not going to end well because you're going to grab the first person that shows up.
Right. It's better to be alone by yourself than to be with somebody and be miserable.
Exactly.
For sure.
And I would say also, nothing is too soon or too long. Your friends are automatic. You say you brought somebody to church in less than a year and your husband passed away. People are going to go, pss, 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 pss. Do what works for you. Know that you're healthy inside. And I would say go to counseling.
Okay, who's doing pss, pss, pss?
The other church ladies when you bring a new guy to church.
Then you're at the wrong church. Just saying. Because if the church people are pss, pss, you're wrong church.
Yeah. And then you're going to have your friends that are like, yeah, it's been years. Don't you need it? Don't you want to try to start again? Hey, I got a guy, And, that happened to me when I got divorced. And I'm like, I appreciate it. I'll let you know when I'm ready. I appreciate it. But people are worried about you. And especially if they're in a relationship, they think, well, you got to be in a relationship. But you really don't. You don't have to be.
No, you truly don't.
So make your own decision. Don't worry about what other people think, regardless of how soon or how quick or how long it takes you to move on. All right. So we've talked about what you can do if you're grieving yourself. Now, if you love somebody dearly who is grieving and that helpless feeling you have, that, your heart's hurting because you see they're hurting and you think, I got to do something, or you say something stupid. I have a terrible reputation at funerals of saying and doing the dumbest things. I won't go into it, but people just wait to see what dumb thing is Dina going to do at this funeral because I'm uncomfortable, I'm awkward. So according to griefandloss.org, these are some things you should not say, according to research, things you should not say to people that you love who are grieving. And they questioned people to see what they didn't like. I know how you feel.
No, wrong.
What's a
bad answer?
What would you think if I said that to you?
Oh, I had people to say that to me. No, you don't. Because the first, my mom was not your mom. My mother-in-law was not your mother-in-law. My best friend was not your best friend. My best friend that was my brother, not biologically, but my brother, was not yours. Do not tell me how you know how I feel. No, you do not. Mm-hmm. You may have lost a mother, a husband, a father, whatever, but you still don't know how I feel because we're two different people and we feel differently. So,
how do you feel about, I can only imagine how you feel.
I can only imagine how you feel. That's exactly what I say. I don't know how you feel, but I can only imagine, and I'm so deeply sorry.
Okay, yeah. And they say here, people say that because they want to say they relate. I'm relating to you.
You're
think
not,
that is going to help?
You can't relate.
Yeah. All right. She is in a better place now.
No, they're not. If they were in a better place, they'd be right here with me. That's another big, huge, don't say that. I know where my loved ones are. They're in heaven. They are in a better place. But when it happens, that's the last thing you want to hear. If they were in a better place, they'd be standing right here with me. I wouldn't be in this funeral home having guests visit me saying, I'm so sorry, they're in a better place. Wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, it says, realistically, things will probably get easier for people, but when someone is in that unimaginably deep, dark hole of grief, they just want you to acknowledge the pain. What's worse is that for many people, this initial pain is deeply connected to the person who died, and starting to heal will feel like they're forgetting or moving on. And they said exactly what you said. No, I want them to be with me. They're not in a better place. Yeah, I mean, that's such a cliche that people say. I wonder if I've ever said that. And this is in case of losing a child. At least you have other children, or you can always have more children. I mean, that kind of goes without saying.
Okay, yeah, that goes without saying because that just makes me want to vomit.
It won't be that child. Just like it wouldn't be that dog. You can get another dog, but it's not that dog.
Not equating animals to humans, but that is the most deplorable thing to say ever.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten a new dog that was exactly like your other dog? As far as personality or because I never have.
Oh, but I've got a dog now, Blessing, that is part Bernie and part Boudreaux, and he acts just exactly like both of them.
What about that?
And, ugh,
Yeah. It's just easier to talk about dogs than children. That's why we're doing it. It's just overwhelming to think about the loss of a child. So
no,
that's why
it
we're using
is.
dog as a comparison.
Right.
God never gives us more than we can handle.
God does sometimes give us more than we can handle because he never leaves us during it. But the point of it is trials and tribulations make us stronger. We just might not get it at the time, but eventually we will, because I was angry. I was so angry at God for taking my mother-in-law and my mother within a month to the date. And I was like, why? Why? And I was so angry. And then finally got it, especially with my mom, because my mom birthed me, obviously, when she gave birth to me. But when she died, she rebirthed me because she made me draw closer to Jesus. Because I sat on my porch and I rocked in a rocker for months. And I sat there just hating. And then all of a sudden, I looked up and I saw these hydrangeas. Is that what they're called?
No, my favorite flower.
And I was like, how in the world, God, do you make something that magnificent and that beautiful? And all of a sudden, all these hummingbirds, I didn't even have hummingbird feeders, but there were hummingbirds, butterflies, everything.
Wow.
And I was like, my mom rebirthed me in her death. She gave me life because I've always had a relationship with God, but I was angry, but then in her death, she brought me closer to him than I ever was.
Right. Right. Well, you said it all there. I'm not even going to say what they said. Only thing I'll add is that it was God will. God has a plan. Everything happens for a reason. Falls under that category. That's not helpful at that time. It's not helpful. I think it's better to let the person grieving eventually say, I feel like God knows better. Let them discover that.
Because
like
when
you say,
people
for you
said
to
that,
be mad at God,
yeah,
you love him to death. So
yeah,
if you're mad at
I
him,
was
then
pissed.
yeah. Okay, and don't cry. You need to be strong now. Now people will take that to heart and suck it in and hold it in.
Tears are cleansing. Tears cleanse you. The more tears you cry, the more cleansing you get. I've always been a believer in that. And don't ever tell somebody they need to be strong. No, you grieve and you cry as much as you want to.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Or not. You know what I mean? It's
Or not.
Yeah. A terrible thing happened to me when I was in middle school. A friend of mine's father died. And he was older than most of our fathers. And we were just kind of in shock. Like, your father can die? What? We thought that happened when you were older. And she was out of school for a few days. And when she came back, we had a locker next to each other. She came back. Now, I'm like 12 or 13. And she said, "Hey, Dina." I said, "Hey." And I didn't know what to say. And I said, "I'm glad you're back." And she said, "Well, thank you." And she walked off. And one of my friends came up and said, what was she like? What happened? I said, "Well, she seemed fine. She didn't look like she'd been crying or anything." And that's got around back to her. And it hurt her so. I didn't mean it in a bad way. But in her mind, she took me aside and said, "Look, Dina, I've been crying for 3 days. I don't want to cry in front of people." And I felt bad for evaluating that she's smiling and talking to me and not crying as that she seems fine. That's a horrible. I was a kid, but I think sometimes people are like, she doesn't seem that upset, or I haven't really heard her cry. Let people grieve the way they want. All right, now Tia. Okay, we've said don't do this, don't say this, don't say this. Let's do something helpful and let people know. Now, this was according to a survey of grievers by their website, What's Your Grief? The number one suggestion for what to say to someone who is grieving is, "I'm here for you." So here is a list of other things that you can say. Now, Tia, you feel free to say whether you agree or disagree or what you think might be better, or maybe you don't even have an opinion about certain ones of these, but I'm going to let Tia take over. Here's things that when you just don't know what to say, you can say to people who are grieving that you care about. Take it away, Tia.
Okay, I'm here if you need me. I'm here even though I can't make it better. I love that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here even though I don't always have the right words. I say that all the time. I'm here even though I don't exactly know what you're going through, because nobody knows what you're going through. Right. Because it's you that is going through it. You could have gone through the same thing, but you're not going through it with the same person. I'm here even if it's just to sit and listen. That's huge. That is huge. I'm here and I'm a good listener. That is even bigger. I'm here if you want to talk or to distract you if you don't. I'm here each and every day. Huge. I'm here day or not. That means 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't really matter. I'm here and I always will be. I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. Huge, huge, huge. I'm here. I'm just right next to you. Period. Like, it's a phone call away, because you're not going to always be right next to them, but you're just a phone call away. I'm here and I really mean it. I'm here for real. And I'm here and I love you with every fiber in my body. I'm here for you. Period.
Ooh, you read those well. I take it you agreed with all those.
I ad-libbed a little bit. Sorry.
Ooh, it made me tear up. Those were really helpful to me because, like I say, I always put my foot in my mouth. I could see how those would have made me feel better when I was in serious depths of grieving. And you said many of those to me, Tia, so I think that comes naturally to you. I just want to wrap it up by saying you need to go through the mourning. The mourning is something we all do. There's nothing wrong with you. Everyone somewhere is mourning something, and just acknowledge the reality of death. It's going to hit us all. I always thought, well, everybody daddies dies, but mine. That's not going to happen to me, you know. Remember the person who died. Don't try to put them out of your mind. Now, these are just suggestions. You do what you want, but this is what, you know, quote, experts have discovered in research and counseling. Let yourself feel the pain. Remember the person who died. Developed a new you, because you are a new you. Don't keep trying to grasp that old you. Why don't I feel this way about...
Okay, this is the best way to say it. It's a new normal.
Yeah.
You have to have a new normal.
Yeah.
Because your normal is not anymore.
Yeah.
It's a new normal.
Yeah, you may find you're not passionate about certain things you were. Like you said you played golf with your mom, right?
No.
No, you used to play golf.
And I passed by her condo.
Yeah.
On 17.
So you just quit playing golf.
Yep.
It didn't appeal to you anymore. But I hope someday you'll pick up
I bought golf clubs. I'm going to start playing again.
Good.
Because it's a new normal.
Yeah. It's your new self-identity. Don't try to recapture the old. Search for meaning. If that one person, you know, you said your mom is your best friend, you can lose the meaning in your life if you put all that onto that one person. And I think what we said before about idealizing someone or a relationship, if you put it all into that and try to remember that that was your whole life, it really wasn't your whole life, you know. Be honest. And if it was, again, like we said, it's your new life. So search for a new meaning. If you really think that person was your whole entire life, then search for a new meaning. It might not be a person. It may be a new career. It may be a charity. It may be, who knows? But search for it. Keep living and searching for something new. Let others help you now and always. And by acknowledging your needs, accepting your own grief journey, whatever it may look like to others, embrace the reality of it, then you can continue to live your best life. This is not necessarily easy. I promise you it's not going to be easy. Some pieces come effortlessly, while others could be a struggle. And there'll be moments of extreme sadness, frustration, and anger. But there will also be times of happiness and laughter. In fact, in your own time and in your own way, your grief journey requires it. And you can always look for support and counseling. Asking for counseling doesn't mean you're weak. It
My
doesn't.
sister and I went to counseling.
Did you?
Yes, we did. And she said, why don't you all just do something that your mom loved and do it in honor of her?
Yeah, great.
Okay, well, no, not really, because she loved to drink wine. So Sabrina and I didn't want to just drink wine all the time.
So you became alcoholics. And then we went to
we
rehab.
just did other things to honor her because she always smelled really good. So we have her. I took some of her gowns, and I've got one that I've had since 2008 that I spray her perfume on.
Oh, yeah.
And I sleep with it. I've never been without it one single day since I got back off that ship. And I had my sister made. I had a pillow made for her that had one of my mom's nightgowns sewn around it. And so I always buy her perfume and I spray it on it every time I wash it. And so, see?
Yeah.
That's just a kind of a way just to have them with you.
Yeah.
Although they're not here in human form to sit beside you, they're always here in your heart, in your soul.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the key thing, if you didn't learn anything from this and you didn't feel like it helped you, is get it out. Talk about it.
Yes.
Get it out. Look for counseling if you need. I've never actually been to a counselor of any kind. And I think a lot of times there's a stigma against it, especially if you're religious. It's like you shouldn't need counseling. I mean, is God not enough for you? But that's a fallacy.
Wrong.
Most churches have counseling.
Yes, I do.
And if you're not into that, you can find independent counselors that can give you tools and listen to you if you don't really feel like you can talk to others, or if other people are saying things that are just really making you mad every time you try to talk to them about it. Get an outside source that can help you. And I've got links to all these places and counseling. Just read in the show notes, and we hope we've helped you a little bit. Is there anything you'd like to say, Tia, to people listening?
If you've lost someone, I am so deeply sorry, and my prayers go out to you. And just like Dina has brought up, just literally grieve at your own pace. Do what you need to do for yourself. Just don't do what I did and think, I need to end it. Just search out help from a professional, or just pray, or, something, if you want to, just email us, because we're certainly not professionals, but both of us have lost people that are
Irreplaceable.
as dear could be to us. And so we'd be more than happy to talk with you and help you in anything. And our prayers go out to anybody who's lost someone near and dear, because both of us know the feeling.
Yeah. And the anticipatory grief. Anyone who's going through that
Right
now, it's the worst. And we're with you guys.
And if you need somebody to talk to, we're willing.
We're reachable through our Facebook page, our website. We have a voicemail. We have an email. We're on Instagram. Just however you want to, whatever you're more comfortable with.
Right.
And we're here and we mean it. Isn't that one of the things?
Yes, we're here and we mean it, and we're not going anywhere.
There you go.
There you go.
We'll leave it at that. I love you, Tia. Thank you so much for sharing. You didn't have to do that. I know it wasn't fun, but I think you probably helped some people. And we love you guys too.
Yes, I love you, little one.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
See you Sunday.
We would love to hear from you.
Leave your questions or comments on our voicemail by visiting our website at dinaandtia.com. Your message may be played on the show.
You can find our Instagram and Facebook links there too.
Again, that's dinaandtia.com.
Thanks for listening.